One Caribbean, many voices. Caribbean Perspectives starts now.
Guys, so welcome back. We have another topic here that has been, we've seen it all over social media, and I think it's worthy of discussing because um, I've seen in my own country, Belize, where parents are venting, like they're frustrated with this online learning during COVID. I mean, there have been videos circulated, WhatsApp messages, and so forth. But it's quite interesting that we know that COVID should not have been the how do I say it? What prompted us to move towards online learning, and so it now forces us. And some of us, some countries don't have the capabilities to go online. So now you're finding that governments are trying to rush and try to implement, or put mechanisms in place so that online learning can take place. And quite frankly, some of these teachers don't know how to do it because they were not trained to deliver lessons online.
It's not just the parents don't know what to do. Some of them, the children are struggling, and then remember, some of these younger children, they haven't reached the stage of learning IT or anything yet. So it's a learn on the go thing, and it's a hit and a miss, I know, for some of them, in terms of even the wireless or Wi-Fi. Some of them don't have the Wi-Fi capabilities, so I'm wondering what is going to happen to these who just have no connectivity to do the online schooling, to keep up with that.
But you know what? In this entire COVID talk, the thing that I find interesting most is in Jamaica, is the criticism of parents who vent and express frustration. To be honest, in all the cases, I have not heard a parent who has expressed frustration in a diplomatic way. But to be honest, I understand the frustration. Shockingly, many people don't. Most people don't. I've heard parents say, listen, I have lots to buy or cash pot. I can't bother, feel if my phone is not picnic. I've heard parents say, listen to me, I don't understand this. What is this? The instruction, even the instruction is clear, it's a simple ABC. But the way parents have been expressing themselves, it shows a level of frustration. And I'm not even sure if there's any sympathy for those parents, but I personally feel sympathy as a parent myself who is doing online schooling also. Sometimes it gets to you, especially if you are working from home. How can you work from home and focus on your work when teacher is calling? There are some holier than thou people who decide that it's not reasonable for parents to be acting like that. Granted, as I said before, I don't agree with some of the things that are being said, but a lot of the frustration, I understand it.
But I do too, guys. I have my little sister in secondary school, and the thing is, what they're putting up online, listen, it does not take rocket science to say, hey, a school needs to implement or purchase Zoom. The thing is, a simple PowerPoint, Zoom has this feature where you could share screen, which means that as a teacher, you could go online, you could go through your PowerPoint with your students, and then there are other tools that you can use. Granted, you're not trained to do these things, but you have to improvise. This is a time where you need to improvise. I see my little sister getting PowerPoints, and she's good in English and math. So I was like, when I see the 11 subjects there, and I'm like, but how will I maneuver with work and then assist her? And I am not physically there with her, so it becomes another layer of challenge. And when I see these things, and I'm like, yo, that's math from high school. And I'm like, how will I now go and research these things so that I could, when I pull her up on Zoom, I could guide her. By that time, she had already done the math assignment, email me, and she's a little bit smarter than some of the students who don't have those capabilities. But imagine a child that's not that academically inclined and a parent who is also not that And then there's also a layer where parents don't have the technology. So she has her own laptop, but there are some parents without any device. And so I think there is a political side to it that's not being addressed as well. So there are a lot of things, playing with this time. And a lot of people who can empathize are those who are capable.
Exactly. Exactly. That's my point. But Devon, what you are a teacher. You were a teacher. What do
Yeah.
you think of people on social media calling the kids little demons and these are the little devils teachers have to deal with? What do you think about that? Like those kinds of comments?
um, I'll be honest with you. I think those thoughts have crossed every teacher's mind. I would not utter it, but some of those kids are horrible. And the thing is, parents would not admit this. Listen, some of them would come with daddy, mommy, uncle, everybody. They hire attorneys and all to come to the school to say, hey, my child did not do this. When in fact, those kids curse out teachers, they want to fight teachers, they disrespect from principals and all of that. But teachers don't have, you remember now, you cannot, corporal punishment has been removed.
Thank
It's
God.
not to say that, but they removed those things. I mean, I get beatings when I was growing up.
I never get none and I'm not sure I would take any either. They beat me.
No,
You never get licked in school?
Never.
But
I'm not bad, so.
But not bad, but miserable.
Me miserable, but me not take no beating. If you pinch me, me cry right now as an adult. I cannot take beatings. I don't like to be slapped or hit or punched. So I'm all for corporal punishment. Beat me? No.
That's so funny. I grew up in a family of teachers. When I was in primary school, my aunt was the principal.
Oh, so you get peer licks?
When I was in secondary, my uncle was the principal. I hear this now. I remember my aunt wasn't there and I got in trouble. I shot the librarian with a BB gun. Right?
When you forget.
Yeah, that is for beating. That deserves beating. That.
So,
A slap.
So the vice principal said, while he was beating me, them had this, them rope, them used to lash, the rope that they tie up and thing. The man said, open your hand. And he said, while he was beating me, he said, your aunt is the principal and you're here giving trouble. And I get like 3 licks. And I did not tell anybody because if I had told my mom, well, when I reach home, my uncle would beat me. My mom would beat me, my grandma, my aunt, everybody would beat me, so I couldn't say anything because you're not supposed to give trouble in school.
Yes.
But no, what I'm saying is that these kids now do things. And remember they say it takes a village to raise a child. However, parents don't want you to discipline their kids. But when they come to school, some of them kids listen until they curse out teachers, they want to fight with teachers, all kind of things. And there is absolutely nothing that you can do except speak to them. And that's it. And so
but I'm against beating. I don't think you should be beating people. I don't like to beat. I don't even like that beating is I have a problem with somebody just putting their hand on another person.
Yeah.
So you punish.
Very
So how will you punish? How do you punish your son?
I take
Timeouts.
I take stuff from him. I shout.
Yeah.
I curse. I get frustrated. I tell him to sit at a place. The worst thing he can do is sit. And that is why I realize that it is so simple to punish kids. Because if you tell a child to sit down and it's like the worst thing you tell him. You don't even have to beat them. Tell him to sit on place and don't move. They beg for the beating. They beg you to beat them because they want to move around. I just don't like the idea of giving slaps, especially boys, slap boys in their back. There's a theory in Jamaica.
What about you, Kay? You think that there should be, you believe in corporal punishment?
I think it has its usefulness, but I mean, when I'm thinking about beating, I'm not thinking like you just rain blows. I mean, sometimes it's just a matter of just for the fact that you even take a ruler and hit them in their hand, even something as simple as that, they know, okay, this is a punishment. But I think that there are other things. I think there are other ways, because I remember one time I did something when I was in primary school. I think I was supposed to, there was something called a VTech computer, a VTech laptop.
Oh, yes.
And I was supposed to, yeah, the VTech, and I was looking forward to that. And I did something, and my mother canceled that. There was no VTech, and I cried. There was another time I had a performance. I did something, and she said, "You're not going." You cry. I mean, so there are effective ways. I mean, these things hurt.
What I never understand. All right. So for both of you who agree with corporal punishment, because I don't agree with it.
Child is with Karika, your child would be with the teacher more than with you, you know.
I know, but don't beat him. Don't beat him. All right, for instance, the beatings that you got. Imagine this: if you make mistakes as adults and nobody don't beat you, why would you not go surrender to beat that police station?
And that's the thing. Whilst growing up, you then learn not to do things that will affect people.
Yeah,
and
but
I'll tell you,
I think that we should talk more. Why can't we engage?
So when we tell them shoot up school like them white picnic.
No, but they probably weren't disciplined in any way. They didn't have anything taken, you know, but I mean, they didn't have anything taken from them.
John,
they didn't get put to face the wall. You
John,
know?
don't do that, John. Go and sit in the wall.
Right,
and then go to school angry and shoot up the rest of picnic them.
No. One doesn't lead to the other. One does not lead to the other. Come on.
But listen to me. What I'm saying is that I'm not saying that there's a distinction between abuse and discipline. And I think that is why they remove corporal punishment, because some people were going beyond what they were supposed to do to discipline a child. No, I'm not saying that you should beat the child till they bleed and stuff. A 1 and 2 licks, like what Kay said, is sufficient. And to be honest, some kids, I don't know how to put it, but I just feel like we don't discipline our kids, and that's why they're turning out to be adults who just don't feel like, they should follow rules, they're disrespectful, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, in Jamaica, look how corporal punishment was just outlawed a few years ago. Some people were killing and fighting and carrying on. Some people, listen,
Exactly, they don't have no discipline, child.
Jamaica discipline was very bad, leather belt discipline. I don't think it's because you didn't beat them up. I think many people in the Caribbean go undiagnosed. Them on the spectrum for autism. Some of them have a little problem with Down syndrome. A lot of them have ADHD. Caribbean people don't think about that. Everything is one broad thing. Rudeness, you're bad. So you're out of order, you're rude, and no respect for your authority, you're out of hearing. And the child keeps doing the same thing over and over. Out of hearing, beat it.
Like, you just told me, you and Kay just told me that I deserve beating for shooting that man with a BB gun.
That one is extreme.
A BB gun.
Exactly my point. And you don't think that those kids do worse than that? Right. You understand where I'm coming from?
But beaten, I think, don't you think that if your mother did sit you down and say, Devon, write a 2-page essay about why you did what you did and why it is wrong? Don't you think that would have been a worse punishment than the beating?
I was, listen to me. I don't think that, granted, my little sister don't get beaten, right? And I explained to my mom that, talk to her, and but I think she deserves some beating because she's hard-headed. Like, sometimes you keep on telling her things, and then she do the same thing, and then she feels it is okay. She does something, and then, I'm sorry, like them white pick, I can't stand that thing. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. 2 minutes down the road, do the same thing. I'm sorry, I won't do it again.
Right, but listen to this. If her phone gets taken away for a month, you think she's going to survive that and do that again?
And this brings me back to my point. parents are not parenting properly.
Exactly.
Yes,
That's
so,
what I was
so why don't the teachers do the teaching? So I'm not asking you to parent. So instead of trying to want to put them outside, put them
They
in
have
the
to
corner,
go.
keep them over for detention, and detention, well, teachers gonna have to stay extra time for detention, but give them lines to write, give them an essay to write, let them present that essay to the class and say, this is what I did wrong and this is why. Because beating never do nothing. This few look beatings over me get only make me harbor resentment for whoever beat me. That's my parents. Whoever, nobody beat me at school, as I said, but like if my parents hit me, I just feel like you could have talked to me. Why do you have to hit me? And I've always felt like that even as a child. Why you have to beat me? If my make beat you when you are making your mistakes, and I've always, from the time I can remember, feeling that beating is wrong. I feel like that. Granted, sometimes you know you went overboard and you get a one slap, but the consistent, the persistent lashing with the belt.
Yeah, that's over the board though. I mean,
because I study history, maybe that's why.
Yeah.
yeah.
Slavery.
Maybe
Bring it back to slavery.
yeah, man, I don't like it, man. Why you have to beat me like that?
Rika, I want you to sit in one of them Caribbean class.
Remember, I told you I taught briefly. I taught for a
Ah.
few months in 2000 and early 2000. I was, oh God, what was it? 2006, somewhere there about. I did.
No.
You know what? Because I felt that people already marked them out as troublemakers. So
Yeah.
that time I was trying to, because I was closer in age, and I was like, so you can do better because you're fresh. You just do CXC. You know that people can pass CXC and do a little better in school. And you try
You should have a wrap up.
and I know so they pitting them bad, them fight, them will stab you, them will kick you, them will.
Karika, K, what I'm saying is that when corporal punishment was removed, the heads that be, the leaders, the so-called educated policymakers, educators, did not put in something to replace that. And so now you find there are a lot of issues within the classrooms and they don't understand.
Yeah.
They honestly don't.
True. I agree that there is a need for some other assessment. Maybe the schools, I'm not abreast with all that's happening in the schools. So maybe there is some plan to implement assessment, but true, corporal punishment left a gap. So children now feel they have free rein to disrespect adults who are teaching. The ministry, I know in Jamaica, they're not really in support of expelling students, which I don't think is a solution to expel students. But at the end of the day, children with disciplinary problems should be made to undergo some amount of program, but do it with love.
Yeah.
Not everything has to be harsh.
To be honest, I told my principal this. I empathize with those students because I was a semi-rude child, and that's because I had educators in my family. However, some of these kids are not so lucky to have guidance at home. And so you'd find that a lot of these kids who give trouble are those that don't have any guidance at home. I have seen kids come to school hungry, without shoes, with mash-up uniform. They don't have their books. And so I told her, you know what, maybe, and there are some teachers who are in the system that just don't care. It's just a paycheck to them, and they'll tell you, they don't care. And so, like you mentioned, there needs to be some kind of assessment. Some of these kids have learning disabilities, and we don't know.
That is true.
So I just feel like more needs to be done.
That is so true. That word I can agree with. More can be done, and I don't think beating is the answer. I know that's going to make a lot of people upset, but I don't like the idea of just beating up kids. I don't like the idea of that. Because you know, it is so funny, Kayla. You beat up children when they're 15, 16, 12-year-old, and then when they become criminals or they're accused of serious crimes, then you start sending them to mediation to work out their problems. Have the same kind of mediation in high school, like bend the tree.
Yes.
How the hell you going to implement mediation? People are stab up people and you want them to mediate. But you beat them. You don't give them a chance. Oftentimes, when you beat children, you don't even give them a chance to explain why they did what they did, why they thought it was correct. And oftentimes, sometimes it's an error. But your own ego and you can't bother as an adult. but when you get an adult, no. So guess what? We find that we're in a society that's more lenient to adults making mistakes and doing very dangerous things than kids. So you create mediation and all the fancy things for adults, but then you beat down kids. There is no mediation process really. It's either you're rude, you'll call your parents, you get in detention, you get in suspension, you're blacklisted, go along over there, so a teacher walk past you and you treat a child with such disdain that the child doesn't even feel love. And the child is still in the process of learning and growing and doesn't even appreciate the full extent of his wrongs. That's all I'm saying.
But hey,
You have me thinking about it from a different perspective there. Yeah, you really have me thinking about it from a different perspective.
Yeah, how can you talk about somebody's belly and they say, oh, we're going to mediation, we're going to talk about it because we grew up together, we're from the same community, we're going to mediate and we talk out our issues. You want to talk it out? Yes, yeah. And then you don't afford children that same opportunity of redemption.
Yeah. No,
so you're giving, please.
Let me tell you one last thing before we go, right? I remember this child cursed in my class, right? Puggish little boy, his siblings them smoke weed, ting, gangster. And he said to me, I say, hey, can you pay attention? Because, you know, this is something important and I want you to learn it. He said, you always picking on me, always effing picking on me. And I'm like, dude, I am not picking on you. I'm telling you, he didn't curse me or no, he cursed, he used a curse word, right? And so I'm like, can you please just leave my class? Because I don't have time to back and forth with you today. I'm not in the mood. And I'm very impatient. I have come a long way. But I told him to leave, and so I spoke to the authorities about it. And they were like, oh, he's a young child, ting. What do you want us to do? Send him home for 2 days? I'm like, why are you asking me this? And you know, because I now feel disrespected because I am a human being as well. And I mean, I understand that we need to speak to them, but he did not allow me to speak to him. He just kept on saying that I'm picking on him, which was not the case. And when that child entered my classroom, I took my time with him. And this is what, and all of them knew this. I took my time with him because they realized that he had a learning disability. I took time and I read with him. I told him, hey, do this, come back, and I'll check your work. Because he was a week behind. And I did all of this. And then for you now to come and say I'm picking on you, that really upset me. And so...
I know why it upset you, Devon, but guess what? It's that you say he has a learning disability. That's that thing that's in his head. That's his frustration.
Yeah,
insecurity as well. He's insecure as well.
Insecure, and that is what I'm saying. So, of course, I don't want to look up to disrespect me.
Yeah.
And it's not for you. The school should have known that this is the case with this child and implement a system to teach the child to deal with all emotions he will feel because he feels inadequate within himself. That's all I'm saying.
And then
the same amount of chances we give to adults, you should give it 10 times to children.
But what I'm saying is the school was very lax about it. And that is why teachers get frustrated because, like you said, they don't want to acknowledge these things exist and they don't want to deal with it. And then they give teachers, I don't have training to deal with children with those kind of needs, right? And so I was trying my best. I was at my wit's end with it. And so when they sent him home and he came back with his mom, and they brought us in, and his mom said, don't you want to apologize? And he said, sorry. And when I left, I overheard him and he said, Mommy, I was wrong. He said, Mr. Devon was trying to help me all this while and I was rude. And he wasn't saying it to me, but I heard when I left. And I'm saying that sometimes the adults, like you said, fail these kids, the people in the system. And so they don't acknowledge that these kids have learning disabilities and they don't want to implement or invest in programs to assist these kids. And then them grow up to be, Yeah, and then you give them a chance. When they grow up to be what you don't want them to be, that is when you give them a chance, an opportunity to redeem themselves and talk about your issue. Mediate.
They should move the mediation program down a few years, down a few notches, down to the school system.
Yeah.
Where you
Devon, what I liked with this story there was that the mother brought him in. The mother was present. She came because sometimes you don't get the parents to come in.
No.
The mother came in and she also asked, do you need to say anything? She made him take some sort of responsibility for it.
Yes.
So these things also have to be present. It's the parent also has a role to play in this process too.
Definitely.
And Devon is passionate, because he's a good teacher. Devon is passionate because he knows he does right by his students. So it's very hurtful for him to be disrespected when you know that you are one of those people who get up and not just do your job, you go beyond the call of duty. And then I know it has to be hurtful for teachers in that situation.
Yes, and there are many teachers in that position. Granted, them have a lot of teachers that don't care, but then the kids, it's a very fickle situation, to be honest. But we need people in authority that care, and also we need more parent involvement, like what Kay said. Like, it takes a village, and that's it.
Yeah.
So any last words from you, or no?
Yeah, I know it's a very challenging time for teachers, especially teachers. It's a very challenging time for parents and students. Discipline is a long-standing issue. It was before COVID, but I think that we need to modernize our education system in that we recognize that different children come with different issues, and that will kind of take some of the burden off of our teachers who are already underpaid and not equipped to deal with these behavioral issues. I sympathize with parents. I sympathize with parents, especially during this COVID time. I think more can be done to assist parents, and for those of us who have it a little bit easier, we can show some sympathy.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, today I guess my eyes were open to a new perspective, because I mean, when Devon said, when they took away corporal punishment, they didn't replace it with another with anything, and that's something that you never thought about. So everybody keeps saying, go back to corporal punishment, go back to corporal punishment, and that's the reason. But it's not necessarily go back to corporal punishment that's needed. It's you need some sort of discipline enforcement. That's not necessarily corporal punishment. So I think that was a bit. I never thought of that before, right? So that's something that was new to my mind today.
I'm laughing because you said we need to put in something new. All I can think about is in the US, where they talk about timeout and go to the corner, and
No, but for me, I know that we're wrapping up, but for me, there's something new would be to identify those kids who have learning disabilities and do not expose them to the general population. Don't do it secretly, just find a ways to give them additional support. Find out those who can be on the spectrum. So I think now in the Caribbean, people are identifying that these kinds of illnesses do exist. Just identify if a child has a behavioral problem, just try to identify and I'm talking about administration, just take some of the pressure off the teacher, because teacher can't be teaching and not deal with discipline at the same time. It's too heavy because they have their own life and their own something to live. But administration should implement programs. I know there's a dean of discipline, but come on, the dean of discipline always comes down with a heavy fist too. So,
but one last thing too, like Kay said, we need to implement all of these things, but things that are appropriate to the Caribbean. Because listen to me, I'm not saying time out, no. Sorry. I just laugh at the idea of go to the corner because our kids are not like that. We are in the Caribbean. You tell a black kid to go in the corner, which corner? You understand? So we need to do it because we're not. We're not. So we just need to do something unique to the Caribbean. We need to implement things that, will target all that we've spoken about. So that's all I wanted to add.
Trust me, we did 2 vibrant topics today.
And everybody was passionate today about these topics. So it's a we should talk about these things more often, or these kinds of topics
Definitely.
more often.
All right.
All right.
That was
So then,
it for today.
yes, it was good. I'll catch you guys later.
All right.
Okay, bye. Have a good week.
Bye. Yes.
Thank you for joining us on today's show. Please remember to subscribe, like,